Welcome back to System Design on the Road. I'm Sensei. Today we sit with a problem that every real system eventually runs into, usually at the worst possible moment. Get comfortable. Hands on the wheel. Let's think. Here's the problem. You've built a service. It works beautifully. Then one morning, a single client starts hammering you. Maybe it's a buggy script stuck in a loop. Maybe it's someone scraping your data. Maybe it's a genuine flood of real users during a launch. Whatever the cause, the requests pour in faster than your servers can handle. And here's the cruel part: if you do nothing, that one abusive stream doesn't just hurt itself. It drags down everyone. The database chokes. Response times climb. Honest users, people who did nothing wrong, start getting errors. One greedy caller has ruined the meal for the whole table. So here's our goal, said plainly out loud. We want to protect the system by controlling how fast any single caller is allowed to make requests. Not blocking them forever. Just saying, you get this many, this often. Slow down. That's rate limiting. Hold on to that phrase, because everything today hangs off it: this many, this often. Now let's get to the heart of it with an analogy. Picture a bucket. A real bucket, sitting under a tap. Every time a request comes in, you have to drop one token, one coin, into that bucket to pay for it. But the bucket has a fixed size, say 10 coins. And here's the beautiful trick: the tap above it drips new coins back in at a steady rate. Maybe 1 coin per second. So walk through it with me. A request arrives. Is there a coin in the bucket? Yes. Take one out, let the request through. Another request, another coin, let it through. If requests come in bursts, the bucket empties fast, but that's fine, we had coins saved up. Now the bucket is empty and requests are still coming. No coin, no entry. That request gets turned away, or told to wait. Meanwhile the tap keeps dripping, 1 coin per second, slowly refilling. This is the token bucket algorithm. It's the workhorse of rate limiting, and now you can see it in your mind: a bucket, a tap, coins. Why is this design so loved? Because it handles bursts gracefully. If a user has been quiet for a while, coins pile up to the brim. Then they can spend that whole reserve in one quick burst, which feels responsive and fair. But they can never sustain a flood, because long-term, they're limited by the drip rate of the tap. Short-term flexibility, long-term discipline. That's the elegance. Now, there's a cousin worth knowing, because you'll hear its name. The leaky bucket. Flip the picture. Instead of coins dripping in, imagine requests pouring into a bucket that leaks out the bottom at a fixed, steady rate. No matter how chaotic the input, the output is a smooth, constant trickle. The leaky bucket smooths traffic into a perfectly even stream. The token bucket allows bursts, the leaky bucket forbids them. Same kitchen, different recipe. You choose based on whether bursts are a feature or a bug for your system. Now the honest caveat, because I never sell you a clean story. Here's where it gets hard. That bucket has to live somewhere. If you have one server, easy, the bucket sits in memory. But real systems have many servers behind a load balancer. If each server keeps its own private bucket, a clever user hitting 10 servers effectively gets 10 times the limit. Your limit leaks. So in a distributed system, the counter usually has to live in one shared place, like a Redis cache that all the servers ask. And now you've bought a new problem: every single request has to make a network trip to check the bucket. That adds latency, and that shared store becomes something you must keep alive and fast, or it takes down the very system it was meant to protect. There is no free lunch. You've traded a local problem for a coordination problem. Sit with that, because that trade shows up everywhere in distributed systems. Let's anchor this in the real world so it sticks. When an API tells you for 29 too many requests, that's rate limiting talking to you directly. That's the bucket saying empty, come back later. Stripe, GitHub, Twitter's API, every serious platform publishes rate limits, and they'll often send you a header telling you how many requests you have left and when the bucket refills. Cloud providers use rate limiting to defend against denial of service attacks. Even your phone's login screen, the one that says too many attempts, try again in 5 minutes, that's a rate limiter protecting against password guessing. Once you know the pattern, you start seeing buckets everywhere. Let's recap. 5 things to carry with you. 1. The problem: Without limits, a single heavy caller can degrade the service for everyone. 2. The goal: control how fast each caller can make requests. This many, this often. 3. The token bucket: coins drip into a fixed bucket, each request spends a coin, empty bucket means wait. It allows bursts but caps the long run rate. 4. The leaky bucket, its cousin, which smooths traffic into a steady stream and forbids bursts. 5. The hard part: in a distributed system, the counter must be shared, usually in something like Redis, and that trades a local problem for a coordination and latency problem. Now, 3 checkpoint questions. Say your answers out loud, right there in the car. No notes. Just talk. Question 1. In your own words, why does the token bucket allow short bursts but still limit the long-term rate? What in the analogy makes that true? Question 2. If you run 5 servers behind a load balancer and each keeps its own local bucket, what goes wrong, and what's the fix? Question 3. Think of an app you used this week. Where might a rate limiter be quietly protecting it, and what would you feel as a user when you hit that limit? Sit with those. If you can answer all 3 cleanly, you understand rate limiting better than most engineers who only memorize the name. That's the difference between knowing a word and owning an idea. Drive safe. I'll see you on the next stretch of road.